Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where it's about dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the English finale. A great, beautiful, sad, heartbreaking finale in so many different regards. Obviously, let's break it down. We got a lot of revelations in this episode, so a lot of stuff I thought was like, wow, I was completely off the mark in so many different facets, and I think it's there's so much, like, this episode's just, like, sad. Like, it's sad on just, like, so many emotional levels, but there's also, like, beauty and just some kind of reprieve in certain regards. Because Eli found a doctor who could look after, Cornelia, just as like other aspects of on the flip side of things, everything we find out, the sheriff starts investigating stuff, everything. He ended up meeting with Thomas, and Thomas told him everything. So it's like, okay, so the sheriff in this episode was like, okay, so you're not the douchebag I was kind of thinking you were, because he had no idea. No one knows the truth about what Melmont did. So it's like, right. It turns, because he ultimately ended up figuring out. Because ultimately, Thomas is going to leave here because he's like, right, Melmont's trying to, like, he's screwing us over as much as we can, so they're going to go, to Alberta with the herd, and then Kelly was like, we shouldn't do that, but it's like, for him, it's like, I'm not going to stand here. Defeat won't really be defeat unless it happens in front of his eyes, and for Thomas, it's like, that bastard's won too often, he's gotten away with too much, I'm not going to let him have the satisfaction of seeing me fall, and the cattle that was originally, Martha's, he was going to give back to her, because it's like, basically, she deserves a hand that isn't mine or something. Because I think for him, it's like, after everything that she's been a part of, it's just like, I don't know whether he knew or whether it's just like the fact that she was connected to Billy and just everything that Billy was a part of, that he's just like, she deserves better. And maybe when he sees her, especially if he knew the truth, maybe because he didn't know about Cornelia's circumstances, but it's like, maybe just looking at her made him think about Cornelia, and he wanted to, because his whole staying in the U.S. was meant to be his redemption. And I think for him, he's like, here I am doing stuff that probably in his mind, it's like, that's what Melmont would do. I'm not that monster. I carry this reminder, because the entire time I was thinking, because I thought it was teeth marks. Maybe Billy never said they were teeth mark. We find out it's a branding. But also it's like, yeah, like part of it is like a T, but it's also been forged to look like a D. Oh God, I forgot what it actually represents. I'm feeling so upset on myself for not remembering off the top of my head. I don't remember. It was meant to be significant. It was meant to be like, let's never forget what happened there. Like, the name of the place is Hawksum. That's like the name that the Native Americans have given it. Because it turns out the place Melmont is building, that's Creek River. Where the massacre happened. He literally, all the bodies are buried there. He literally he's starting this place, this place where he can prosper. Like, he's building this town on top of all of their graves, and no one is the wiser. And I guess he's keeping that secret. I don't know whether it's a situation of, I don't know what it was exactly that, I guess Billy was going to, like, can we find out that Timothy killed his wife because she had syphilis, and I guess it would have all led back to him in some shape, but whatever the case may be, it was what I thought. Timothy killed his wife out of mercy, but it wasn't under the circumstances I thought, and he ended up killing himself afterwards. And I don't know whether it's because Billy was digging stuff up, looking too much into the past, and it's like, oh, you want to be a nuisance? So he had his right-hand man, which ended up being McClintock. It wasn't until this episode I was like, especially going through the trouble of scalping, I'm like, Eli wouldn't be about that, so it's not him. And it's like, it's not till later I'm like, oh, it's McClintock, because I was like, where the hell is he? But it should have been clear, considering the episode when he was at episode 4, when he was in England and he raped Cornelia, who was there out on the outside, McClintock. So it should have been in my, but I was like, that's why I was like, because I was, if you did hear my other reviews, I was under the impression like, oh, maybe that was Eli, because I was thinking like maybe these two stories weren't happening at the same time. No, they were. It was a I completely misread the circumstances of this, but But even Thomas has like a reminder of all of that, and obviously the sheriff is finding out like all this firsthand. At the same time, he sent a guy, was it Red Morgan, out to kind of find more out about like, what's going on here. And because he went back to Billy's house and saw the Creek River stuff, and that's what got him started. That's what was the domino effect of like what this was all about. And Red Morgan met the Black Widow. She was the prostitute that she was one of them, but she goes by the name Black Widow now. But they went to see her, and her face was like heavily damaged. And I was like, did he do that to her? It's like she had syphilis. That's what this been about, because they misdiagnosed Timothy's wife with cowpox. It was syphilis, and that's what Cornelia has. Because I didn't talk about it last episode, but Eli was like, why do you wear those gloves? And she's like, yeah, a lady doesn't take her gloves off until she gets home. She didn't want him to see she has syphilis, and it's the signs aren't just on her hands, it's also on her chest. And now in retrospect, it's like that. I was like, I interpret it as, oh, that's because of what Melmont did to her. Like she was trying to like cover herself in dirt and stuff like that. Which is true, like on the level of, yes, the last person she was with did that to her, but also I think she was probably she was probably too scared and worried that she was going to pass it on to him, to Eli. So I think for her, it's just like, right, I'm going to cover myself in dirt, like maybe like hopefully she can probably like scrub off any like infection that might be bubbling to the surface or something like that. That's what I was wondering, but that's especially why she pushed Eli away last episode. I was like, so I think there's a double layer to that because of what Melmont did to her in twofold, by raping her, but also by giving her syphilis. And you're just like, man. And she has and obviously, because I was like, I knew like her son having to have died. I was like, it had to be something he had, and it's like, it never crossed my mind to be like, oh, he might have had syphilis because he got it from the Black Widow, and then he ended up passing it on not only to Cornelia and their baby. But now I'm also like, wait, were her parents as bad as we thought they were? Because I thought it's like, oh, because of what happened. It's like, no, they were trying to protect her because like syphilis, and I don't know if this is just knowledge that was then. A lot of stuff like that is something I'm not well versed in medically. So like her saying like the stages of syphilis, I don't know if those are still applicable anymore. But she was saying that basically it starts up at first. The first two stages is like, right, that's when you're infectious. The third stage is when it can go away, and there's a chance it goes dormant, and it could go away and never come back. But then it enters the fourth stage where it comes back, and it will eventually eat away at her face like it did to Black Widow, and eventually like it'll eat away at like, well, I think kind of like her memory and just everything about, she'll slowly kind of decay until she finally dies. And you're just like, Jesus. And it's heartbreaking because it's like, hey, this is this character we followed. She's been through so much. Everything with Melmont, her losing her child, and now this. It's just like, and it's like, she didn't want to tell Eli, but the doctor was like, I'm pretty sure Eli knows, And I just thought that was that was just like rough to hear. But for her, she showed the picture of her son, and she's like, "Oh, you didn't blink," and he's like, "What? At a mother's love?" Because for her, it's like that's why she ends up giving him the cash, tells him to look after White Moon, because it's like, the way you looked at my son, that shows me that you're a decent enough human being. Like the fact that you didn't wince at my son. But yeah, like he eventually died from complications. But my point was, like, could that be why her parents locked her away? It wasn't because they were ashamed of her or anything, but it's because of what she was going through. And she did say they were trying to protect me. So part of me wonders, like, probably like people would have looked at her a certain way. So like the general public never knew. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that's like that really was for her benefit. Or was it more so like no, the family was still trying to keep up his image or something like that. Like, the thing is, it could be one or the other, or at the end of the day, it could be both are true. Both could be true. So, and obviously, she wanted him to look after White Moon as he's going to put on he's going to make this thing. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, the only payment I'm going to need is I want you to send me a photo of White Moon when he's 18, letting me know that he made it, that he's okay. because he was going to be looking after White Moon because White Moon's leg was messed up, broken, so he wasn't going to go anywhere. And so when the time comes, like, they're taking a photo because she's like, I want a photo of me and Eli together, but it has to be one, I want it to be while my face still looks like this. And they did, but at the last second she turned. And so it was fine, I think, initially, but maybe just as the photo developed more and more, her face got blurred, or maybe it's just time eating away at the photo, like, dilapidated even more, so like now it's just like you can't see her face, which I'm like, I think is so, which is so heartbreaking considering that that's the last, probably like one of the last photos, especially the last photo she got to take with Eli, where she got to see, like, where her face was what it is. And it's just because Eli was like, no need to tell me. He's like, you don't have to tell me something I already know, you know. And when it was all said and done, Eli was like, right, whatever happens, she was like, whatever happens next, don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to die. Because for her, it's like, and that also goes back to that line last episode. She's like, I'm already dead. She's been marked for death ever since, you know, he gave her syphilis for her. And it's just like, oh my God. Like I said, it's just a heartbreaking episode, and just her telling Eli, like, right, I've already got a death sentence. I don't want you to die for me. Like, don't die for me, because I'm already dying, but I'm already dead in her eyes. That's why she can do what she does, because like, what do I have left? Like, my time is ticking down. My boy is gone. So, and sadly, just as she gets into town, like, probably, who knows how long the time frame was, but when it fades into Thomas leaving town to her showing up. It's like they missed each other. That's even more heartbreaking. They never got to see each other in this show at all. It's like, damn, like 15 years apart, and they never got to see each other again. I wish they had been able to see each other. I really wish that. And it sucks that it played things. That's just the way of things. And because the sheriff was at Martha's place and was asking questions, and it turns out it's like, Jesus, that man Melmont is out here serial raping, because not only did he do it to Cornelia, he also did it to Martha too. She didn't choose to be with Billy. It's like, yeah, Melmont ended up, and the moment that happened, you're like, Jesus Christ, does that mean she has it too? But when Cornelia gets there and talks to her, it's like, no, like, the fact is, I was probably in like stages 1 and 2 when he was with me. You were probably like, that happened probably stage 3, so it was dormant. So there's a good chance you nor your son have it, you know, because Martha had said that her son Jeb had some idea about the whole Melmont thing. So that was kind of a thing of, not only did this, because for her it's a thing of, regardless of it all, she stayed because she got something good out of it. Just like Cornelia, like, regardless of it all, she got her son out of it, just like Martha did. And it's like, that made it bearable, you know, that any pain, at least there was that solace. Something good came out of that, you know, someone who each of their children both being something Melmont wasn't, you know. And so obviously then Kelly too, like, showing up. And the moment they pull out the .58 caliber, it's like, all right, they knew. The moment that came up, I was like, oh, I know what time this. I was like, God, and that made it go like, yep, it's definitely McClintock. So, and the hopping the horse on top of the roof and unloading, and then Kelly trying to shoot back, Eli going outside and landing some shots. But it seems like he got syphilis too, because I think they all were with the same woman. So I think maybe Billy had it, maybe Timothy definitely had it, and so it looks like McClintock had it, and eventually like it reached the stages it did. Maybe it's just like, maybe it didn't ever reach that stage for Timothy or Billy, but it did for McClintock, I guess. I mean, not unless there were other circumstances why his face looked the way it did. There could have been other reasons, but he ended up getting his in the end because he ended up dying. I guess Eli landed enough bullets in him, maybe a combination of Eli and Thin Kelly, like, landed enough bullets in him. Then you find out the stuff about Thomas that happened off screen. It's like, I was like, oh, did Melmont catch up to him? It's like, no, it was like a flash flood. they got caught up. I think there was like nothing left. And Thomas, they were trying to pull him out, but he cut the rope because for him, it's just kind of like, right, you know, I don't deserve it. It's like he could never forgive himself for everything because he still was like blaming himself for what happened because he still was like, right, I was there. I was a witness, a part of all of this. So I don't deserve it. And for Cornelia, she was like, right, he deserves to be found. I will. But it's like, yeah, there's nothing you're going to find. It's like the man built all of this. Let this be his resting place. And even telling Martha, it's like, yeah, like you might take whatever you need to of like whatever's left. Like it kind of might go to you now type of situation. So, but that was mainly them going after her son Jeb, who was gone. He went after Melmont. And so they found, like I said, they found McClintock dead from the gunshot wounds, and ultimately it was them being led to Melmont, him having no idea what he'd done, you know, and Cornelia standing there showing was like, "This is what I'm already dead," and he was like, "Oh, because what was it that she was saying? Like, it was like, because she was saying, like, if it wasn't for you, me, and Thomas. And he was like, yeah, but if you and Thomas had ever happened, you'd be laying dead with him, too. It's like, so you're almost being like, oh, it's a good thing I sexually assaulted you. You're still alive right now. But it's like, yeah, I have a ticking clock because of you. And, even asked that question of like, what about my son? It's like, did he look like me? And he's like, oh, he must have. And it's like, why didn't you ever get rid of him? Because for her, it's like, because he lived, because he breathed, because he knew pain, he knew boredom, he knew love, like, you know. And the fact is, for her, it's like, he fought. The part of him that was me fought against everything that was you, and saying like, my baby boy was never you, you know. And McClintock's just like going on and on. Not McClintock, but like he even recognizes Eli, and he's just like, oh, like you're gonna is that what you do? You save your own skin? Because I guess at that time he didn't know, because he was like, oh, I got someone that will take care of you. He didn't know that McClintock was dead at that time. But given the opportunity, Cornelia couldn't pull the trigger on him because he's like, right. He's like, because you can't kill someone, because killing me would mean like killing any bit of your baby boy that was still alive. Because despite the monster that he is still her son's father. And it's like, yes, at least as long as he's alive, there's some form of, because killing him would be like killing what's left of her son out there in the world. And she couldn't bring herself to do it. But it was actually Martha who did, but the bullet went through. I was like, damn it, no. But luckily, the pendant, it protected her. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. And Eli is the one who deals the final blow, because he was like, who done me in? And Eli's like, it's me. Because he didn't want Martha, nor Cornelia couldn't be the one to do it. He didn't want her to be the one to have to do it. He knew how hard that would be, so he wanted to do it for her. And it's like, right, this monster isn't going to take anything else from either one of them. So Eli takes the blame, and it's like, right, the sheriff is like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to go our separate ways. But for Cornelia, it's like, no, I don't want that. But the sheriff, once again, doing the right thing, it's like, all right, like, if you go back, they will hang you, because he started this town, regardless of it all. Dermont is, Melmont is considered a hero. He built up this place, like, especially it's going to be his word. It's like, they will hang you, and like everything that he did. The sheriff and Red Morgan are the only ones alive who know and Martha are the only ones alive that know what happened at Creek River. And it's like, but even then, that's not enough. Like, he's now dead and can't face the consequences of it either way. So he most likely never would have. So now it's a situation of, I'm gonna let you go, but you have to disappear. But he's stuck in this place of like, he doesn't want to leave Cornelia behind because he cares about her, but he has to. And that line, to me, was so heartbreaking when she was just kind of like, he was like, you have to look at something and let it go. And she's like, no, I don't want to let you go. And she kind of walks away. She's just kind of like, no, I don't want this. I can't let you go. But for him, it's like, this is the only way. She has to go back home. But for her, it's like, no, my home is with you. And it was just like, that whole sequence, like, broke my heart, dude. I want, I'm like, both of you are alive, but you can't be together. You can't stay side by side. And he says, that star of yours, and she's like, the Scorpio. He's like, look to the next time you see it, look to the right, and you'll see the wolf. It's all be there, always, never changing. Being like, no matter where we are always going to be connected. I might not be by your side, but I will always be by your side. And then her giving him the wheat seeds, and him giving her like his medicine, the bird skull, and being like, I found this with you, and gave that to her. And I love the parallels, because like one of the last things she said to Milmont was like the reason why she kept her son, because she cherished him. And obviously at the end, as Cornelia and the sheriff are leaving, he's yelling out, I cherish you. And I think that is the last time. The thing at the end makes me almost want to say, like, could it be that, but I'm like, I don't see him like joining like that whole, as she puts it, like the circus, but White Moon says zoo. I don't think because the Pawnee were also part of that, so I was almost wondering, like, could they have seen each other in that time? But probably not. He went back home because that's where he needed to be, And she's like, but why? It's just it sucks that things played out that way, because yes, this was one journey, but this was one that sadly Cornelia had to take alone, and Eli has to continue his journey on his own. But it's like, even so, they are. I want to say it was this episode that Cornelia said that line of like, "What has this country done to me?" And the experiences and everything they've been together, what they found in each other, I think with Eli, he found redemption. He found something more when he had felt like he had lost it all. He found something, and I think Cornelia was in the same boat. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just a thing of like, I think it is. Yes, I want it to be a happily ever after, considering she doesn't have much time left. I want them to be around I want them to have each other. But I guess like even when they're apart, she obviously in the house, she still has everything from that adventure. She still had the compass, obviously the arrows, the photo. It's just like, it's still there. So it's not like he's forgotten their time mattered, And so we skip to 13 years later, her in England, and her condition's gotten worse. Like now we have the context of the veil, because we thinking like, oh, it's because she's burying her son. It's like, no, because her face. And she goes to visit White Moon, and he remembers her. And he even, because obviously she's like, I kept writing you letters if you didn't want to leave. And he's like, and go what, to one of those schools and be an American. But for her, it's like, I want you to be more than this. Because it's like, yeah, this is you're putting on these performances. People are treating you like animals in a circus. And he's like, a zoo. But for him, it's like, I get to play Eli, But also, because for him, it's like, this way, regardless of it all, I get to remember who I am. I never forget. I am the son of touching ground and running hog. And he said his grandparents and his great-grandparents, for him, he's able to take pride in who he is and never forget. And that was a whole point before of like, yeah, the only way to survive is a Native American would have to forget who they are. And him proving like, I don't have to. Regardless of this circumstances, I'm still able to be. And she gives him what Eli, and he's like, no, but she's like, let me give it to you while it's still mine to give. And he takes it, and she doesn't want him to like look under her veil because she's like the shame, and he goes underneath it so she doesn't have to reveal her face to others. He kisses her and says, but it's not hers, like her shame, I think. And I thought, like, even thinking about it now, it's still getting me choked up. Jesus, it's like, once again, it's just like there is beauty in it, Not only did she get her revenge, but like, it wasn't just revenge that filled her heart. It was everything with Eli that she found something else besides revenge along the way. And in the end, she wasn't, I think it speaks volumes too, like her not being the one that killed David, I think made it even more like that not being the only thing in her heart. Because even if she would have always had to carry that, and Eli carried that for her, because I love that whole conversation too of like, yeah, how much killing have you seen? And she's like, quite a bit, you know, kind of going back to that first conversation of theirs, and it just like, it was a hell of a journey, and I don't know. Like, this episode also hit me with some music that was like, there's that song, it's called Long Time Traveler by the Wailing Jennies. That scene happened at the same time that the reveal about Cornelia's circumstances, and then like her and Eli's conversation on horseback like afterwards. Like it was playing throughout that whole scene, and I was like, that's one of those songs where I had to go like, now I gotta look this song up, because it's one of those songs that like just the vocals and just the words of the song just like it hits your soul. And I was like, I wanted to cry then and there. And then there's also, I believe, and I could be mistaken, do correct me in the comments down below, I believe it's a cover of this song, but I believe the last song was called American Tune. I'm just not quite sure if it's the right song. It might be. If I'm not mistaken, like I said, I believe it's American Tune by Paul Simon, but it was like a cover of it, I believe. But it's just like that being like the last, like the song during the credits too. I was like, that, I was like, once again, that was also choking me up. It's just like everything about this episode is just like, that's why I'm like, it's beautiful and it's sad, and it's just, it's one of those things where it's just like, I wanted it to have a happy ending. And then there's also like the real life stuff that we see at the end and stuff. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's one of those shows where like this is gonna be one of those finales that kind of sits with me for the next couple of days, where I'm probably even longer. Just I'm thinking back to it, and I'm like, it's been a hell of a show. It's been a hell of a journey. Like there's been a lot of sadness and heartbreak along the road, but I think it is a beautiful yet sad and tragic tale all on its own. But and I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'll just kind of stop right there. But obviously, I also want to say, like, obviously, to everyone involved, cast, crew, in front of the camera, behind the camera, like always with these things, I wish everyone involved with the project the best in their future endeavors. And, yeah. That's really all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.